Hey there, health champions. Dr. Christopher here, and I want you to do something for me before you do anything else today. Go look in a mirror, really look, because your body has been trying to tell you something for months, maybe even years, and you've probably been blaming it on getting older or being tired or just having a rough week. But what if I told you that puffy face, those dark circles, that stubborn belly fat that won't budge no matter what you do, they might all be connected to one single hormone that's quietly running wild inside you right now. It's called cortisol, your main stress hormone, and today, I'm going to walk you through 10 signs of high cortisol that you can actually see with your own eyes, starting with the early, easy to miss ones and working our way up to the signs that mean things have been going on for a long time. Stick with me to the end because sign number 10 is the one most doctors won't even mention, and it's the one that scares me the most. Let's start with sign number 1, and this is usually the very first clue your body gives you: dark circles and sunken-looking eyes. Now, you might think this is just from a bad night of sleep, but here's what's actually happening. Cortisol and melatonin, your sleep hormone, are like two people fighting over the steering wheel. Cortisol's whole job is to keep you alert and ready for danger. So when it's running high, it shuts melatonin down because your body figures that if you're in danger, this is not the time for a nap. The problem is, most of us aren't running from anything real anymore. We're just sitting in traffic, answering emails at 10 at night, and worrying about bills, but your body doesn't know the difference between a bear chasing you and a stressful inbox. It reacts the same way. So night after night, your sleep gets shallower, your eyes stop getting the rest and blood flow they need, and you wake up looking like you fought a war in your dreams. Sign number 2 is oily skin or unexpected breakouts, even if you're well past your teenage years and haven't had acne in decades. Cortisol overstimulates the oil glands in your skin, and that extra oil clogs pores and invites bacteria in. Now, I have to be honest with you here, because I don't want you jumping to conclusions. Adult acne has plenty of other causes too, especially gut health problems, so if your digestion has been off, that could be playing a role as well. But when breakouts show up alongside some of the other signs on this list, cortisol is very often part of the picture. Sign number 3, and this one is a big one, a rounder, puffier face. Sometimes people describe it as looking almost swollen, especially around the cheeks and jawline. Here's the mechanism. Cortisol doesn't work alone. It has a close cousin called aldosterone, and together they control how much water and sodium your body holds onto. When cortisol climbs, aldosterone often climbs right along with it, and that means your body starts retaining fluid, especially in your face and neck. On top of that, cortisol tells your body exactly where to store new fat, and it has 3 favorite spots: your face, the back of your neck, and your belly. That neck deposit is sometimes called a fat pad, and if you're noticing your shirts feel tighter around the collar, even though your arms and legs look about the same or even thinner, that's your body quietly redistributing fat based on stress, not diet. Speaking of thinner limbs, before we get to sign number 4, let me just say this. If you're finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because trust me, your future self, the one who finally figures out why their pants don't fit right anymore, is going to thank you. Okay, back to it. Sign number 4 is a change in your posture, a hunch developing in your upper back and shoulders that wasn't there before. This happens 2 ways at once. First, there's an instant reaction. When your brain senses a threat, real or imagined, your shoulders round forward and up, almost like you're bracing for a hit. It's a protective reflex left over from our ancestors. Second, there's a slower chemical process where chronically high cortisol actually breaks down muscle protein in your upper back to convert into blood sugar, weakening the very muscles that are supposed to keep you standing tall. Over months and years, that combination can leave you with a permanent forward lean that no amount of reminding yourself to sit up straight seems to fix. Sign number 5, stubborn belly fat. But I want you to understand something important here. Not all belly fat is created equal. There's the fat right under your skin, the kind you can pinch, and that's mostly just extra calories. Then there's visceral fat, the deep fat that wraps around your organs and gives people that firmer, rounder belly, sometimes called an apple shape. That deep fat is the cortisol kind, and it's dangerous. Not because the fat cells themselves are evil, but because of what it represents: months or years of your body being stuck in defense mode, prioritizing short-term survival over long-term repair and healing. When your body thinks it's constantly under attack, it stops investing in things like tissue repair, immune function, and digestion, because as far as it's concerned, those can wait until the emergency is over. The problem is, for a lot of people in their 50s and 60s, that emergency never really ends. And here's what makes visceral fat particularly worth paying attention to. It doesn't just sit there quietly, it actually behaves almost like its own hormone-producing organ, releasing inflammatory chemicals into your bloodstream around the clock. So the more of it you carry, the more background inflammation you're dealing with, and that inflammation can, in turn, keep your cortisol elevated even further, which encourages your body to store even more of that same visceral fat. It's a loop that feeds itself, and it's exactly why so many people say they've tried everything: cutting calories, walking every day, and that belly still won't budge, because if the underlying stress and cortisol piece never gets addressed, you're fighting your own hormones the entire time. Sign number 6, thin arms and legs paired with a flatter backside even while your midsection grows. This one surprises people every time. Remember how I said cortisol breaks down muscle for fuel? Well, it doesn't take that protein from just anywhere. It goes straight for your biggest muscles, your arms, your legs, and your glutes, because that's where the most protein is stored. So you end up with this strange combination, a growing belly and shrinking limbs, and honestly, that contrast is one of the clearest visual signs that something hormonal is going on rather than just simple weight gain. Sign number 7, hair thinning or noticeable shedding, and this is where I need you to pay close attention, because there are two very different things happening here, and mixing them up can cost you years of frustration. Male pattern hair loss follows a predictable path, receding at the temples, thinning on top, and it progresses slowly over years, with the remaining hair staying thick and healthy. Cortisol-driven hair loss looks completely different. It's diffuse, meaning it thins evenly across your whole scalp rather than in one spot. You'll notice way more hair in your brush or in the shower drain than usual, and the thinning tends to concentrate at the crown rather than the hairline. Here's the hopeful part though, because pattern baldness is largely genetic and hard to reverse, but cortisol-related thinning is physiological, meaning if you actually address what's driving your stress hormones up, there's a real chance your hair can recover. I've talked to plenty of people who spent hundreds of dollars on shampoos and serums chasing this before anyone ever mentioned to them that the real driver might be sitting in their nervous system, not on a store shelf. Sign number 8, bruising easily, finding mystery bruises on your arms and legs that you don't even remember getting. This ties right back to that same protein breakdown we've been talking about. Cortisol doesn't just take protein from muscle, it also breaks down collagen, the protein that keeps your skin thick, elastic, and able to protect the blood vessels underneath. When collagen production drops, your skin thins out, becomes more fragile, almost like paper, and the tiny blood vessels just under the surface become much easier to damage, even from something as minor as bumping into a table. Sign number 9, and this pairs closely with the last one, reddish or purplish stretch marks, especially across the belly or thighs, that seem to appear out of nowhere without any major weight change, because your skin has lost so much of its natural elasticity from that collagen breakdown. Even modest fat deposits in your midsection, the same deposits we talked about earlier, can tear the deeper layers of skin, and those tears show up as those distinctive colored streaks. And finally, sign number 10, the one I promised you, slow healing wounds, a small cut or scrape that used to close up in a few days, now lingers for weeks. This is the sign that tells you your body has been in survival mode for a long, long time. Think about it this way, healing and repair are what scientists call a long-term investment. Your immune system, your tissue regeneration, your recovery, none of that matters in the next 30 seconds if you're being chased by something dangerous. So under chronic stress, your body essentially puts a hold on those long-term projects and funnels everything towards short-term survival, less blood flow to the skin, less available protein for rebuilding tissue, and a suppressed immune response. For a lot of folks in their 60s and 70s, this is the sign that finally gets their attention, because a cut that won't heal feels different. It feels like a warning. Now here's a question I get asked constantly. Why is this happening to so many people right now, especially folks in their 50s and 60s who never used to deal with this kind of thing? And the honest answer is, our modern lives are basically a cortisol factory running around the clock. Think about what your day actually looks like. You wake up to an alarm, which is already a mild shock to your system. You check your phone before your feet even hit the floor, scrolling through news that's designed to grab your attention by alarming you. You rush through breakfast or skip it entirely. You sit in traffic or rush through emails, and your body treats every single one of these moments as a tiny emergency. None of them are life-threatening on their own, but your nervous system doesn't really do a great job of telling the difference between a genuine crisis and a stack of small daily irritations. So instead of a short burst of cortisol that spikes and then comes back down like it's supposed to, you end up with cortisol that stays elevated pretty much all day, every day, for years. Add in poor sleep, and this becomes a vicious cycle, because remember, high cortisol disrupts sleep, and poor sleep raises cortisol even further the next day, so the two feed off each other. Then there's diet. A lot of us reach for sugar and caffeine to get through the day, and while that gives a quick lift, it actually causes blood sugar swings that your body interprets as another stressor, pushing cortisol up even more. And finally, there's something researchers now call chronic low-grade inflammation, often coming from gut health issues, and that inflammation itself is enough to keep your stress hormone system on high alert, even when nothing external is actually going wrong in your life. So when you put it all together, sleep problems, a diet high in processed sugar, constant digital stimulation, and underlying inflammation, it's honestly not surprising that so many people are walking around with these 10 signs and have no idea why. The encouraging part is that because so much of this is driven by daily habits, it also means so much of it can be improved through daily habits. Things like getting real sunlight within the first hour of waking, which helps reset your internal clock, prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of actual sleep instead of just time in bed, cutting back on the doom scrolling before bed, and being mindful about how much sugar and caffeine you're leaning on to get through the afternoon. None of that requires a gym membership or an expensive supplement. It just requires awareness, which is exactly why I make these videos. Now, before you panic, I want to be really clear with you. Cortisol is not the enemy here. It's actually one of the most important hormones you have. It gets you out of bed. It helps you handle real emergencies. And in short bursts, it's completely healthy and normal. The problem only starts when your sleep, your diet, and your daily stress stay out of balance for months or years at a time, turning a helpful survival tool into something that's quietly working against you. If you noticed even 2 or 3 of these 10 signs in yourself or in someone you love, please don't just brush it off as getting older. That's the trap so many people fall into, and it's exactly why these changes go unaddressed for so long. Talk to your doctor, ask for the right tests, because catching this early gives your body the best possible chance to reset and heal. And if this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't connected before, do me a favor and share it with someone in their 50s or 60s who needs to hear this today, because you might just be the reason they finally get checked out. This is Dr. Christopher. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.